Greetings, comrades. Although, why is it always me who greets you? I'll let someone else do it for me today.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
It's been a long time since we've had a simple and easy video about the symbols of modern Russian culture. And there's not much you can find on YouTube these days either. If anyone ever talks about Russian artists, it's usually presented as stories of Z singers. Tonight, however, we are going to have a story about a rapper. Not just a rapper, about perhaps the biggest icon of the underground Russian rap scene of the 21st century. Although, in a way, he could also be called a Z singer, if Z stands for Xanax. He is a man who was hopping around underground rap parties 15 years ago in a gorilla mask with his pants down, and now any podcast or show with him instantly gains millions of views. And the most amazing thing is that he managed not to change a bit and remained himself. Meet Pasha Technik. In general, to summarize such a phenomenon in Russian culture as Pasha Technik, it is enough to read news headlines about him. Stoned Pasha Technik didn't come to his own concert in Kazan and ran away from the organizers. I tried to bring him, but now he's running away from me down the street and screaming that he doesn't give a fuck, the organizer said. Or here, Pasha Technik spent almost 24 hours in a coma, and the next day he successfully passed a medical for a club in the Media Football League. However, he was unable to make his debut. The referee did not allow him on the field because of his inadequate condition. After that, Pasha decided to undress on camera and was expelled from FC Goats right on the field for unsportsmanlike behavior. Pasha Technik was beaten in Voronezh with a dildo. Several punk bands refused to perform on the same stage as Pasha Technik at the Bol festival because he's too outrageous. Too outrageous for punk bands. Or maybe the best way to talk about Pasha Technik is with the facts of his biography. At 18, he founded the underground band Container, and yes, the first part of the name hints at exactly what you're thinking. He recorded tracks in which you can clearly hear someone in the background eating food or farting, and the tracks themselves were about this. And had a total blast at his own concerts. He, by the way, is a preserved recording from their concert in 2004, where Pasha holds out a microphone to a listener in the crowd and she joyfully yells, "Go fuck yourself." You know, like Gigi Allen, but without the coprophilia. So it went on until 2009, when Pasha went to jail for 5 years, of course because of the People's Article 228. Then he was released, continued to write songs, participate in rap battles and get drunk, became an idol of the so-called Russian lower internet, began to go to all kinds of YouTube shows where his inadequate behavior earned him a title of a national star, as well as 5-6 trips to rehab, and this is only the last couple of years. But in order to fully understand the phenomenon of Pasha Technik, you just need to take a minute to listen to him. For example, this clip here.
Понимаешь, гуф это... Он может... Гуф это как... Вот политику не хочу трогать, но гуф это что-то типа этого... как его зовут? Долгопрудный, блядь, а как он? Мудак этот, блядь. Ну, которого закрывают постоянно перед выборами. Провокатор этот.
Навальный?
Да.
Кто?
Да.
Кто?
Чё?
Как кто он?
Что?
Гуф.
Гуф мужик. Охуенный.
С кем ты его сравнил, просто чтобы ты сказал? С кем ты сравнил?
Не, Гуфа ни с кем нельзя сравнивать. Гуф это Гуф.
Ну ты только что его сравнил.
Ты, по-моему, перепутал.
Ты сказал, что Гуф как Навальный.
Нет.
У меня это записано на камеру.
Смотри.
So, it seems that the guy is just a not-so-famous underground rapper with absurd lyrics and weird antics, who after 20 years of taking drugs has become a living anti-advertisement of them. And the fact that he's still alive is almost scientifically inexplicable. It's easy to explain his popularity by the fact that he's just a freak and an anti-social element that the whole Russian internet makes fun of. After all, remember the same trash streamers. They are nothing interesting, they just do all sorts of crazy shit on camera and have their share of popularity. It would seem that Pasha Technik is a typical representative of this category, but no, I wouldn't make a video about him if that was the case. The fact is that Pasha is a very talented beatmaker. His Container band was created in 2000. Pasha and his colleagues took the American label Anticon as a role model, the releases of which can be described as avant-garde hip-hop, indie hip-hop, or rap that doesn't sound like rap. Pasha decided to apply the same principle. If there is any way to describe their music, it can only be described by the words extremely experimental hip-hop. So experimental that no one has done anything like this in Russia, neither before them nor after them for another 10 years. Actually, the history of the group creation sounds like this. According to the legend, Pasha and the second main member of the group, MC Blev, MC Vomit, lived in one apartment building. Technik met him on the stairwell, got him high, and offered to record some rap. It became Blev's first musical experience. And if you listen, for example, to Container's albums from 2005, you will be very surprised by the sound. There's IDM, jungle and breakbeat, and everything is done on a very good level, though extremely avant-garde. Just so you understand, I'm absolutely sure that no other Russian rapper of 2005 even knew the word breakbeat. The album title Shit-Faced hints at what the lyrics are about, though.
Суки, похуй, вы купались в пруде, в пруду вы грубо ебались в перду, и по кругу вы нюхали белый подружки.
In the same 2005, Pasha released a solo album, MDR44, with abstract electronics. Music of this format was very unusual for Russia, and was appreciated even by the cult Pitchfork. In an article about new Russian music, Container is called a legendary band, and the album 5 Years is called a masterpiece, even though it was home recorded on a karaoke microphone in front of a Pentium 4 PC. However, then there was a forced break in Pasha's career. He went to prison for not only singing about drugs but also practicing them. After serving time, he returned to his favorite activity. But if before prison the Container band was extremely productive, then after prison his attitude to writing rap was like this.
Вот так я ложусь и думаю, сегодня нужно трек. А потом такой, да, в пизду.
However, he still sometimes makes quite interesting lo-fi beats, which you can find on his SoundCloud. But gradually other interests came to the forefront. His lyrics from 20 years ago and nowadays are basically a freestyle, in which the main themes are shit, being stoned as shit, well, you get the idea. An absurdist stream of consciousness. By and large, his entire rap career, at least as far as lyrics are concerned, is a big prank with his friends, the purpose of which is to mock the narcissistic true rappers and have a laugh himself. Why so serious? One of Technik's hobbies were and are rap battles. At first he participated in online battles. This is when participants publish verses dissing their opponents and the jury evaluates them. Then he even became a judge of one of them. Admittedly, when he came up with the theme "My clitoris is bigger than yours" for one of the rounds, many contestants refused to submit their tracks. Well, in 2014, after serving time, he participated in an offline battle rap tournament. First, Pasha asked the organizer for a very long time to let him participate, but with one requirement: to give him a woman or a disabled person as a competitor. It didn't work out. Pasha arrived at the venue not quite in the right mind, and the first thing he said to the organizers when he was brought on stage was, "Bro, I'm on acid." And the second was, "Fuck bro, I just shit myself." I can't translate his 20-minute performance, and I won't be able to describe it really. But it ended with him turning the entire club against himself, after which he took off his pants, showed the audience his penis through his underwear, and they started yelling "Fuck you, fuck you." In the end, the victory was given to the opponent, but this performance laid the first foundation of Technik's future internet popularity. In the first years after his release, Technic managed to become a star of the lower internet. He recorded rap tracks for anyone for $50, filmed personalized video messages, the peculiarity of which was that they almost always insulted the addressees, made funny advertisements for clothing brands, starred in commercials for a proctology center. He was a star, eagerly giving interviews and flooding YouTube with clips of Pasha Technic watches, talks, congratulates, chooses a girl, and so on. A man born to be a YouTube star, the genius of the reaction video format. It felt like he's finally reached his moment of glory. He traveled around the country with concerts, got married and had a son, got praise from almost all mainstream Russian rappers, recorded the viral underground hit Need Xanax. In general, he finally turned his life into one big show, where the audience watched a man cheerfully and terribly engaged in self-destruction. It was just a matter of monetizing the image, and Pasha succeeded in that too. Contracts with bookies, visits to popular shows, all these brought Pasha millions. Almost all popular YouTube channels and media personalities used the method "call Pasha Technic, it will be funny by itself." They called him when they ran out of ideas. He would come and just be himself, and everyone would be happy. The medium-quality production company even made Pasha his own show, In Search of Easy Money. The plot saw Pasha trying on different professions, from stripper to wrestler and sommelier. He was even paid by the Kremlin for advertising amendments to the constitution, about 3 million rubles according to him. A rap career with albums and concerts became a hobby for Technic, and his main income came from shows, his own and other people's. In this theater of the absurd, which was Russian YouTube of the late 2010s, Pavel was assigned the role of a jester, or a circus bear who quite by accident managed to monetize his drug addiction. And it would seem that his tale could be presented as a story of success, from underground rapper to media personality, if not for one thing. Unfortunately, or fortunately, all these crazy stories are not part of some stage persona, but who Pasha really is. On the other hand, this is also the reason for his popularity. He is real, even if it's difficult to call him a good character. So what? Pasha Technic is our Kanye West? A genius who just lost his marbles over the years? Not quite. For one, Pasha hasn't yet run for president. Kanye still takes himself as seriously as possible. But Pasha has never been serious, and is quite adequate at assessing his personality, and quite capable of recognizing his main problem. In his own words, "In my music, drugs don't play any role at all, but in my life, they play the main one." In this regard, it is helpful to watch his rare sober interviews, which he gave immediately after one of the rehabs. In 2022, he was taken to intensive care and fell into a coma. "I couldn't go out sober, it was hard for me. And when I'm shit-faced, I'm the life of the party. I will make music with you, we'll take a walk with you, everything. This emptiness is internal, I was feeling it with this." The problem is that although the rapper himself has made some steps towards recovery, and his wife, now ex, continues to help him as much as she can, but neither most of Pasha's entourage nor his fans need it. They want a fun, stoned friend idol who does outrageous shit. They want to see not even scandals, but full-blown trash content from him. Pasha himself recalls the summer of 2021, when he got out of 11-month prison sentence for driving under influence. After 10 minutes, his friends gave him a drink, he snorted in the car and then went to celebrate at a country house. 7 days later, he was in the same condition as before the prison sentence. I mean, really. What will gain a million views faster? Some experimental abstruse beats? Or a story about how Pasha went to jail for 13 days for showing everyone a tattoo with Carlson who has a swastika instead of a propeller? After all, you won't do such things in a sober mind, so if you want to be popular, you have to keep destroying yourself. Especially since it has been the lifestyle of 40-year-old Pasha for almost 30 years. Pasha started his career with glue at the age of 11, then cigarettes, alcohol at 12. In the 8th grade, some Tata offered weed. I realized, this is my thing. We smoked once a week, then imperceptibly began to smoke every day, then 3 times a day. Gradually, the rapper tried everything up to heroin, and even in prison he managed to use drugs. Then in 2015 the infamous Xanax was imported into Russia. Pasha himself believes that he was one of the first people in Russia to try it at all, and he was hooked straight away, although the drug itself seemed rather weak to him, so he mixed it with alcohol to make it stronger. Surprisingly, the years of his maximum popularity, 2015-2022, coincide with the years he confesses he doesn't remember at all. In fact, his entire life after leaving prison is an endless drug binge, with some breaks for another prison, rehab, coma, and other joys of life. Not surprisingly, in recent years, the typical representatives of his entourage are people like the scandalous trash blogger and part-time bath salt addict Yulia Finesse, who became famous for coming with a knife to various fast food restaurants and insulting customers on camera. And then she decided to do the same in Armenia, for which she first had her head shaved by local nationalists and then ended up in an Armenian prison. That's why I recorded this video with ambivalent feelings. It seems sinful to laugh at a man who is not always aware of his own actions, but it was his choice to turn his addiction into the central feature of his personality. On the one hand, Pasha Technik is a brilliant experimental musician, a master of absurd lyrics whose albums started the abstract hip-hop boom in Russia. A man who was making modern lo-fi 10 years before the genre became popular in Russia. Pasha Technik's career is an endless carnival. Everything is constantly turned upside down, every day is a new public performance. At the same time, he is phenomenally efficient. He has recorded several hundred tracks. VK has a playlist with 505 of Pasha's songs. He released dozens of albums, toured across Russia several times, and been on hundreds of shoots. But for all that, he is still clearly a marginalized person who has burned his brain with dozens and hundreds of all kinds of drugs he can get his hands on. His life is a reality show, with funny episodes set against the backdrop of the endless tragedy of drug addiction and his attempts to get rid of it. Russian people are compassionate, which is probably why he became such a national hero. But only he can help himself. Pavel cannot get out of the rehabs and walks on the edge, losing his sanity along the way. No one knows when his body will finally give up in this eternal struggle with himself. Which of his crazy antics will be the last? So I'd like to finish with something positive and let Pasha himself do it for me again, with his song about the water park.
В аквапарке реально охуенно, реально охуенно, ну реально правда охуенно. В аквапарке горки, джакузи, ванны и фонтан. С детьми были там вчера.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by sending me some crypto, wallets and links are down below, or by subscribing to my Patreon. And as always, a huge shout out to my biggest supporters: Елизавета Zakharova, Kirill Klimuk, Zimon Berze, Jimmy Albin, Petr Ilich and Bruce Etonik. See you guys next time.